can, except that, again, just look at it from a political science perspective. You have a lot more in the electorate. You have a lot of, around the country, a huge trend of people registering independent and not picking a party. And remember, this election was a primary for those that are registered Democrat, and you've had an exodus into this independent line. So I think you have to, again, pay attention to the numbers and then the demographic on who voted, which was they got the youth out to vote. In a general, it may be very different.
Yeah, I mean, like,
right? Because if you look at what happened in the UK and Germany, right? The UK has over 29 mayors that are Muslim, right? That are Muslim/communist, right? And so there is a direction that's happening. So, you know, I think that one thing that could be done is just by executive order is just have him removed.
I just think really, sorry to interrupt, but like to me, like the thing that Republicans should not do, in my opinion, if they want to win over particularly people like the young vote, but even just most voters in general, is just to cry like, you know, communists or things like that, because essentially, I mean, I don't see that as any different from like the left or the Democrats using Nazi or using the term fascist, because I mean, essentially it's, you know, it's lost a lot of its meaning essentially, and the only thing
he's openly about that. No, he's openly admitted this, right? So he's definitely an admitted socialist, like openly, like he literally will. If you ask him, he will say that. So I don't think there's any kind of issue about labeling.
Right, but I mean,
he also said he's going to arrest the Prime Minister of Israel if he comes into the city, even if he comes to the United Nations, which he would have diplomatic immunity. He's also made that statement very clear.
It's not going to get past the fucking State Department and his secret, I guess their equivalent of the Secret Service.
Yeah, I guess really just my point is that, like, to me, it just seems like, I mean, even if it doesn't matter if what he says is true, it just seems to be like a matter of, you know, it kind of reminded me like when I saw the debate between Bernie and Lindsey Graham that happened on Fox News. And regardless of which side you stand on, it's just like, you know, he made all these accusations about like Lindsey Graham. One of the things he made that I just saw it as like one of the reasons why people like him are rhetorically ineffective is because he didn't talk about any of the issues that were like relevant to voters. He talked about saying that Bernie supported, you know, defund the police, which is not true, but regardless, even if he did, it didn't engage with any of like the positions that people were concerned about, which is like, to me, I think is ineffective for any person who is engaging in politics.
But he said he wanted to tax like white neighborhoods more or some stupid shit. It was he said a few things.
Bernie Sanders said
white people. When Mandani said we're going to tax white neighborhoods.
Sure, it was just a couple of days ago. In fact, I'll post links. There are a bunch of them.
He said we're going to tax white neighborhoods?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I want to see.
I mean, all you have to do is kind of read the newspaper. Any news outlet covered it.
Hey, what do you say you taxing white neighborhoods for? What was the goal?
Yeah, see, Hakima here, he wants to know why you're going to tax him. He's a white supremacist.
Don't start, Ann. Don't fucking start.
Well, maybe he's right.
I want to know, do anybody know the answer? Like what was this tax increase for?
Yeah,
like,
to tax the rich. The neighborhoods that are white neighborhoods will have higher taxes.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, of course he would like that. So what he actually said was that the richer, whiter neighborhoods he would tax, which it's, first of all, anyone that thinks that you should target people that have more money to pay a bigger part of the bill, it doesn't understand how taxes are already working. think this is a good reality check for people like Hakima that don't understand these things. In this country, at the federal level, the top 1% pay 46% of all of the income tax. That's the top 1% pay 46% of all of it. The top 10% pay 76%. The top 50% pay 97.7%, which essentially means the bottom 50% in this country only pay 2.3% of all federal income taxes. And yet you still have fucking weirdos that go out there saying that we need to tax the rich more. Listen, if the 1% is already paying 46% of all of the income taxes, I think that anytime somebody proposes a tax break for them, I think they're doing the God's work. I think the Lord is smiling, saying, yes, you should not be. I don't know if I want to get too biblical here, but Jesus didn't like tax collectors. And so I think that for those of you that have opened your Bible recently, maybe if you haven't, knock the dust off of it and go see what Jesus said about the tax collectors. I think we need to give a break.
Hey, Roger, like the fact is, like in this economy, you gotta pay taxes, right? That's just a fact. And I'm with Jesus, like fuck all taxes. Like I wish we can go to none, but that's not a reality.
Well, then hold on.
Let me finish my point. You didn't hear my point, though. You didn't hear my point.
Go ahead.
Thank you so kindly, Mojo Jojo. But like you saying, like the top 50% pay 96% of the tax.
97.7.
Okay, so I mean the bottom 50% pay 2%, 2.5%.
2.3%.
Right. So and this is where America is at, right? With them numbers, we're right there, right? So in order for America to improve, who do you think taxes should be raised on? That although the bottom 50% only paying 2%, you think they should pay 10%? You think taxes should be raised on the poor, not the billionaires? I mean, either taxes bogus either way.
Akiva.
Hold on, taxes are bogus either way. So but where we at now, you still want them to raise taxes on the poor, even though the rich are still getting richer, but you don't want them to pay more. You want the poor.
Wait, hold on. Can I respond to your question? So this is what I'd like to see happen. I'd like to see us recognize what the proper role of government are. And I don't think that when you look at things that are in the budget, things like gender studies in Pakistan, I think that we could agree that the things that we're asked to pay for is egregious. And in fact, all of that tax revenue, that's not enough for these big spenders. We collect $5 trillion in income tax, and then we go ahead and we spend $7 trillion. We have a $37 trillion debt. So the first thing that I'd like to see is I'd like to see the spending get under control. That's the first thing. The second thing that I would like to see is I would like to see a repeal of the 16th Amendment and get rid of the IRS. I would abolish the IRS. I think we should get rid of the 16th Amendment. We should then institute what's called the fair tax, which would eliminate the income tax, the Social Security tax, the Medicare tax, and replace it with a national sales tax. Then, if you spend money in America, then you'll pay taxes on it. You have some control. Yes, there's things that you have to buy, but you also have discretionary spending. It gives you some control. The way that we do it now, we give you no control. And then what we've done is we've overburdened the wealthiest people in this country. They, like I said, the top 1% pays 46% of the tax. The top 10% pays 76%. The top 50%. Hold on. Well, why would you interrupt me? You just went on this whole rant about being interrupted. Okay, so all right. So are we doing the interruptions or not? Go ahead and interrupt me. How about that? I'm going to be fair to you.
All right. Let's be honest though. Like we don't have a tax problem. Like they're tackling the problem from the wrong perspective. There's a spending problem. It's not a tax problem. So like we can sit here like if the government is addressing an issue, but they're going at it about the wrong way. Now we're sitting here like dummies arguing about how they should tax. When that neither one of those are the issue. The issue is spending, and they are doing nothing about the spending, and that's what we should be talking about.
Well, I agree that the spending is the primary problem, but I want to go over to what Necker said in the chat where he's just incorrect. I can give you the facts that the top 1% of income earners in this country pay 46% of all of the income tax collected federally. So you're just factually incorrect. But I want to go back through these numbers because it's important. So if 50%, if the top 50% paid 97.7%, and you guys are saying that people with more money should pay more, I want to just illustrate this. We did this one night. Let's say 100 people went out to a dinner. Let's call it a fancy dinner. And let's say the 50 people with the highest incomes decided, hey, let's pick up 97.7% of this bill. And then they took the remaining bill and they handed it to the 50% of the people at the table that have the lowest income and says, look, guys, good news. We've picked up 97.7% of this. Between the 50 of you, you only have to pay 2.3% of this. I would suggest that the people at that dinner would look to the 50 that paid the 97.7 and they would say, thank you for paying such a disproportionate part of this bill so I can eat a lot cheaper. What happens in this country when we do this with tax dollars is that you have people in this country that are arguing that the people that only had to pay 2.3%, that somehow they're the ones getting fucked over, and somehow that the people that paid the 97.7%, somehow they're getting a free ride. Make it make sense.
Spoken like a true black man.
Hey, we have a choice not to pay taxes, right?
If you want to spend some time in jail, you can.
Yeah, want to go up for 20
Wait,
years.
hold on. Let me just make this clear. You don't get sent to jail for not paying your taxes. You get sent to jail for lying about your taxes. And so, no, you don't go to jail for not paying them. What they'll do is they'll give you penalties, and then at some point, if you continue to play this game, they'll just garnish your wages. They do not throw you in jail in the United States of America for not paying your taxes. They just don't do it. It's untrue.
Facts.
They do if you evade.
Well, no, hold on. But what is evasion? Evasion is not paying them. You can not pay them for a long time, and then when they catch up to you, and then they say, "Here's a bill," and then they give you a time limit to get it paid, and then if you don't do it, what they do is they garnish your wages. What they never do, is take you and put you in jail. Evasion is not paying them. Evasion is the act of lying and committing fraud to try to get out of not paying them. If you just simply honestly say, okay, I'm just not paying them, that is not something that will get you thrown in jail in any city, state in this country.
Roger, do you remember the guy that was on the app with us? Let me see. First season, second season, his last name was Schiff. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and I know his dad's story very well.
Yeah. And why did his dad go to jail?
Because he evaded taxes.
And how did he evade taxes?
Because he didn't report income.
Correct. So answering his question, if he refuses to pay taxes and he doesn't report income,
the reporting the income is the crime that got him in trouble.
I was just answering when he asked the question, if we choose not to pay taxes, if you are earning income and you refuse to report the income and you refuse to pay tax, you will have penalties.
But understand, Abby, let's not conflate this. And I'm very, very well aware of the Schiff story. Schiff got himself, first of all, he got attention brought on himself, not for not paying taxes and not for the evasion of the taxes. The attention came when he wrote a book telling other people how they could get away with not paying their taxes. Where he made the mistake is when he lied about it. When he lied about it and then they were able to prove that he lied about it, that's where he got in trouble. If you're honest about your taxes, if you're honest about them and then you just refuse to pay them, they will never throw you into jail. What they will do after a certain amount of time, and it takes a long time for them to catch up with you, what they'll do is they'll eventually just garnish your wages.
No,
or if you had
I agree
assets,
with you
they'll
on
go
that.
to you. Yeah.
But someone who chooses not to report, and maybe I'm reacting to his question, assuming that's what he meant.
Yeah. So again, the point is that you are legally responsible for reporting income. In fact, this is what got Al Capone. Al Capone, all of the stuff that he did in Chicago, what he eventually got caught up for was not paying, not reporting income. And so the tax evasion was not just that he didn't pay taxes. It was that, so the IRS has this interesting rule that not only are you supposed to report your legal gotten income, you are required by law to report your ill-gotten income. So here's the interesting thing. So let's say you're a pimp or a prostitute, right? And you're getting paid for something that's against the law. The IRS can come after you if they can prove that you received money in this criminal way. If you didn't report it, and if you didn't report that income, they can get you for tax evasion. And so again, I understand why people say that if you don't pay your taxes, you go to jail, because oftentimes the people that are lying about their taxes also don't pay them. Just understand that the reason that they're going to jail is because of the fraudulent report.
Basically, the government want in on the illegal money. They want to lock you up.
No, that's not. They don't want the money. What they want is they want an excuse to throw you in jail if you lie about it. It's another way that they can bring down criminal syndicates. It's actually a pretty interesting thing. You should go read the IRS code. The fact that it calls out that says that if you commit a crime, you're responsible for reporting that income. It's very.
Only a fool will report that income.
Well, actually, I would say this: only a fool would participate in activities that can get them thrown into jail.
Well, the president and Congress does it all the time. Participate in shit that should send them to jail, and yet they don't.
Give me an example without just making some broad generalization.
What do you mean? I mean, maybe Nancy Pelosi with an insider trading. Maybe she goes there.
Well, but by definition, she did not commit insider trading.
Right, because they wrote laws to excuse it.
Well,
you're the person writing laws, you can excuse your own crime.
Well,
that makes
but there's 435 people that have to pass that law, Akima. So was she ever indicted for anything?
We already know the answer to that.
Was she ever indicted?
I decided, I'm not defending Nancy Pelosi or none of that. I just use something that I know you conservatives always talk about. That's why I use Nancy Pelosi. I didn't go after the low-hanging fruit with Donald Trump. I used a liberal as an excuse. Now y'all defending it somehow. I have heard all of you.
Your words. You said committed crimes.
I've heard all of y'all.
Didn't I hear him say
illegal? Now you want to defend it for the
No, I don't. You said the words committed crimes. Am I the only one that heard him say committed crimes?
And I didn't
I'm asking you specifically, what was she indicted for? What crime was she indicted for?
She wasn't, Abby. Abby, you were way smarter than this to go after the argument from the approach you're doing to that. You're too smart for that.
What is he's trying to say, just because it's not illegal doesn't mean it's right.
Well, hold on. But just because something is bad doesn't mean it should be illegal either. I mean, we know that alcohol is poisonous, but we learned our lesson that making it illegal is worse. And so these are concepts that I think that we need to get familiar with. It is a nation of laws, and so what defines a crime is whether or not it's not whether or not something is good or bad. It's whether or not it's lawful or unlawful. I know that doesn't set well with some people. But can I just? Jason, hold on before I miss this moment. Laws are interesting, and I think the laws in this country, while some of them I think that we should look at changing, we can have that conversation. There are other places in the world that have even more unjust laws. Like for those that are proposing Sharia law, for example, I'll just take this opportunity to tell the room that under Sharia law, it would be legal for you to fuck a 9-year-old girl. I think the laws in this country, as flawed as they are, I think they're better than laws elsewhere. And so, and again, for those that haven't heard, the Prophet Muhammad married a 6-year-old girl and had sex with her when she was 9. And you have 2 billion people around the world that thinks that that's okay. They come into this room all the time.
Hey, have you heard about Isaac marrying Rebecca when she was 3?
That's untrue. That's
Jewish tradition and source.
No, it
Actually,
isn't.
it's actually untrue. You just don't know what you're doing.
Yes, it's true. Everyone knows it. I can bring the source.
No, everyone doesn't know it.
So y'all kicked Premier off the stage? Come on,
Hold on. I didn't kick him off.
I dropped him.
What? Wait. Hold on. Listen, I'm going to bring him back up, and here's why. It is much better to let fools speak on this app than to move them down. I like if he's not interrupting and if he's not calling personal attacks on people, we should let him stay up here. Like he said some things that were untrue. Anybody that knows him knows that he's not the smartest guy in the world. But here's the thing. We'll why don't we just play with him for a little bit? Pamiri, can you answer a question for me?
Yeah.
Okay. Did the Prophet Muhammad did he fuck a 9-year-old girl?
She didn't marry her because she was 9.
No. He married her when she was 6. But did he fuck her when she was 9?
First of all, no. Islam doesn't have 9 years old or 8 or 25 or 30. You will get married if she reaches the rate. What do you call it? Masculinity. Then you can marry her.
Wait, hold on. That's interesting that you want to marry a girl that's masculine. Actually, hold on. I want to just make this clear. In 2025 in Iran, it is legal for everyone to marry a girl that's 13. And if you get permission from their father and go into their court, you can get permission to marry her at 8 years, 9 months.
If she passed that period of her adultery, whatever you call it, with start with M, yeah, you can marry her.
So I took a cheap shot. I apologize, Mary. It's only because we were in a room about a week and a half ago where I was the sole Jew among hundreds of people, and people were ganging up on me, and I think you took a bit of a shot, and so I had an opportunity to swing. So forgive me. I just had to do it.
No, it's okay. But what Pamiri's saying is that they don't tie it to age; they tie it to reaching puberty. So basically, if a girl, and by the way, their definition is the minimum age in which somebody may experience a period, which in Iran they define that as 8 years, 9 months. So in Iran, you can marry and fuck an 8-year-old girl if she's 8 years, 9 months, and you have the father's permission. This is what Islam teaches.
It should be everywhere, even in Judaism.
It is so. I just put the biblical reference in English in the chat, but I'd like you to show me where in Bereshit and you can do it in Hebrew or in English, it says that she was 3 years old because it
Okay.
doesn't. As a matter of fact, it says in Hebrew
Let
that
me
she
ask
was.
him real quick.
I'm trying to answer him. That it says that she was able to carry water, and Christian and Jewish scholars
No, you're going to
read the
Bible.
Old Testament,
Go
read
to
the Old
Jewish.
Testament and interpret it that she was in her teens. But nowhere does it show me in the Hebrew in the original verse where it shows an age for her.
Okay, so do you know Rashi, right?
I absolutely do, but I asked you in the original
That's
text
him.
to show
That's
me
him.
there was one crazy rabbi who decided to
Not
interpret,
crazy,
and
he's
it's
a
been
Rashi.
debunked. And it's been debunked. So show me in the original text, either in Hebrew or in English, where it says that she was 3 years old.
First of all, is Rashi authentic in Jewish tradition?
It's many different thoughts that went into Rashi, and different rabbis from a million directions. And that's interpretation of one interpretation. I'm asking you, you're such a scholar, to go to the original verse, and I put the section where they describe her, and tell me where it shows an age.
Okay, I will.
In Genesis or in Bereshit, you can do it in Hebrew or in English.
It's
Fine.
from, yeah, I will find it, put it in the chat. It's from Rabbi
That's
Shlomo
not
Itaki.
right. I know exactly, and it was been debunked by both Jewish and Christian scholars. I'm asking you again to go to the original verse and show me. You can use King James, use whatever version you want of the actual Bible, and show me where it gives an age of Rebecca.
I will go to the Rabbi Shlomo
No,
Itaki.
see what I mean?
Yeah, hold on. Let me jump in here.
Sorry, I
Let
don't
me
think
jump
I
in
can
here.
do this, Roger.
Let me jump in here. Let me jump in here. So, no, the Bible does not give Rebecca's age. It does not do that. In fact, if you want to pick one rabbi that has an interpretation, you'd have to balance that out with the majority of the scholars that study this stuff, which agree that most scholars agree that the age was somewhere between 14 to 18, right? That's what the scholars say. But here's the more important part of this. I don't even care what that says, because these documents were written thousands of years ago. And what I do care about is in 2025, we know that Muslims still support the idea that you can go and fuck a child. There's not a Christian or a Jew that believes in this, and so let's just say, and it doesn't, but let's just say if Rebecca was 3. Let's just say she was, which she wasn't. The scholars say that she was somewhere between 14 and 18. But let's say she was 3. The question, the important question would still be, looking at that, do we think that's right or wrong? And Christians and Jews would say that's fucking disgusting if that were true. What the difference is that Muslims will defend this practice in 2025, and that is fucking foul.
Hey, Roger, can I ask you a question? What should it make you say you shouldn't fuck a child? I agree. What is a child? Is 16 a child?
In some states, it's not. You say age of majority, I'll answer you. And I'll also tell you that I'm answering your question.
I wasn't finished, though. I literally was not finished. Like, because we know the answer. We know why it was a rhetorical question. Because, like, you're going to go to the law says in 16, if 30 states says 6, it's perfectly fine without parent consent. A 16-year-old person can fuck an adult, period, in 30 states. And it's okay because the law says, hold on, let me finish. The law says it's okay because a 16-year-old can fuck an adult. So let's say back in 600, the law says it's okay to fuck a 9-year-old. You okay? As long as the law says it, if that's the standard, the law says slavery is okay. Is it okay?
Okay, I'm going to answer him legally.
I'm not finished. Like, I'm not finished at all. Come on, y'all talk way more than me.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah,
y'all don't.
What you're forgetting.
I'm not, bro. Come on, you got this.
All right, guys, hold on. We're gonna let Hakima finish. Necro, look. Abby's trying to get in. Hakima's saying, "Let me finish," and then Necro, you're jumping in as if it's your fucking turn. Just mute the fuck up. Hakima, go ahead and finish your point, and then Abby's gonna respond.
And then can I go after Abby?
Yes, the order is going to be Hakima, Abby, and Neck.
I did like 30 seconds. Y'all get my point. The point is the law does not make it right. Times change. People do different shit over time. But don't act like, because 15 years ago somebody was fucking a 9-year-old, and we're so evolved now. And in this country, the great America, you can fuck a 16-year-old, and that's some huge fucking difference. Like they just hold the same standard, the same hypocrisy. Don't be a hypocrite. Be the same person across the board.
Okay.
Don't try to demonize Islam when America is allowing shit right now in 2025.
So I'm going to answer you that the age of majority in the United States is 18, and in different states, you can, in some states, marry at 16 only if you have parental consent and judicial approval that they're emancipated. You cannot, you have, and in those states, you go through it with respect to child marriage, where it's outlawed across the country if you have parental consent. And we're very careful about that in the United States. You raised about Israel, about Jews and Christians. In Israel, it's 18. Occasion, again, only with consent can it be lower at 16. But I think they changed the law there to be mandatory at 18 now.
But Abby,
So-
isn't that even that has a
So
limit?
Wait, why, Sarah? Why we had an order? Hakima was going to go, Abby was going to go, Ann was going to go, Necro was going to go. If you're not one of those names, you're not in the order yet, but you can get in the queue. I think it's Ann's turn.
Well, just finished up that Roger's point is in Christian countries and the one Jewish country, the age of majority, and under old English law and common law that's followed, the age of majority is 18 with certain consent to be younger. We did have the issue in Utah many, many years ago, and they redefined it in that state, but majority in the United States is 18.
Can I rebut that? Just 20 seconds at most. Because in fact, what you're saying, there's 16 states. I mean, there's 30 states where the age consent is 16 without a parent. Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, Connecticut, Georgia, Hawaii, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas City, Kansas, Kentucky, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan. The list goes on. There's 30 states where the age of consent without a parent is 16 within America.
Put that in the chat, because I see that it's parental consent.
Well, hold on. I want to jump in.
It would have to be.
I'm gonna kick it over to Ann, but I just want to jump in with something. Hakima, here's the point that you're missing, because we could go back and we could look at, the early colonies and their laws, and it was much earlier age. The point that I think that the Muslims wave away is that we could look at these laws that were on the books in the U.S. Delaware was very young. If you go and look up it, yeah. So hold on. But here's the difference, Hakima. And this is where I would like for you to apply some some logic and reasoning to your argument. Is that in 2025, when adults in America are talking about this, they say Delaware was foul. The UK in the 1700s, the 1600s, fucking foul. Right, and we could say this is wrong. If you were to ask me, I think the fucking age of consent should be 25. That's what I think. That's the whole thing. The human brain doesn't fully develop until you're 25. The weird thing about this, though, is that I can stand up here as an American and say that American law back then, man, what the fuck were these people thinking? That's just gross and detestable. But if you get a Muslim on the stage and you ask them about it, they will defend it, and they will say, but this culture did it and that culture did it. I don't give a fuck, to be quite honest, what happened 3,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 500 years ago. I live in this time, and in this time, I believe that's foul. And anyone that believes that that's okay in 2025, I think they're foul.
Just really quick, I don't want to speak for all Jews and Christians, but I would assume that most of us, if not all, we didn't need any laws to tell us that that was wrong. Why? I mean, instinctively, like your conscience, like you just know. Like we didn't have to learn that. We just know that it's not right. So I don't know why. Like we don't need laws even for it. to know that it's wrong. I don't know what the justification is for it. And how do you not consciously know that it's wrong?
Necro, go ahead.
Yeah, Hema, I mean, it seems to me like the point, like, you seem to not be understanding is the idea that, like, simply is that, you know, in the 21st, in our current...
Hey, would y'all stop saying I don't understand? And that's really condescending. They say, hey, you disagree with me. Don't tell me what I don't fucking understand. Just say you disagree.
Like, well, if you understand, I don't see why you're referring to whataboutism by, like, talking about the problems in other cultures in order to justify, you know, what happened in 7th century Greece, because you're not just defending, saying it was a different culture. You're saying that it was.
Okay, make your point. I want to hear your point. I know what I'm saying. I want to hear your point.
Hold on a second. It's my turn to talk. So you're saying that simply that it was God who appointed his messenger and that he had sex with a 9-year-old. Like,
I said nothing like that. Nothing like I said nothing like that. What the fuck are you talking about?
That is what you believe, right? That is what Muslims
No, that's not what I believe. So don't put nothing in my mouth and try to frame an argument around it. I never said nothing like that on the fucking stage. What are you saying there, bro?
So Muslims believe that Muhammad is the prophet. Muhammad had sex with a 9-year-old. And so, you know, this is the thing that's simply why it is that we are criticizing it. You have people who are bound by what some guy in the 7th century said, and they are willing to defend his actions because of what he said, because they believe it was God who chose him. So it seems to be the point that you're not getting.
Let me tell you.
Let me tell you one thing, Dr. Durrell, please. Please and thank you if I can. But for you to address me with that weird, awkward argument, putting words in my mouth, shows something about you. I'm not sure what it shows, but it shows something about you, and it's not positive. I said none of the shit you said. So you really should like address me and the shit I'm saying, opposed to what Muslims may think. And you're not a Muslim.
I know that you are not willing.
You don't know nothing.
I know that you're not willing to. I know that you're not willing to address, you know, how you feel about Muhammad, you know, him having sex with a 9-year-old.
So hold on a second, hold on a second. What Muhammad did, you know, we can separate we separate spiritual leaders from practice all the time. There are tons of religious leaders living today, rabbis, pastors, other preachers who have committed heinous crimes, right? That has very little to do with the religion itself. And to
Dr. Jordan, real quick though, here's the problem, right? It would be one thing if Islam in 2025 said, hey, we think that that's crazy and you know, that needs to change. But in modern day Islamic countries, they still, because of their teachings, they condone this practice. I haven't taken the time to study all of these things, but in Iran, the IRGC has allowed for you to marry a 13-year-old girl. And if you gain the permission of the father and go to court, you can get permission to marry a girl that is 8 years, 9 months. And so the problem isn't, to me, the problem isn't necessarily what was written 2,000 years ago. The problem is that in 2025, you got a bunch of fucking barbarian fucking pedophiles that are still fucking doing this.
Roger, do you know in Judaism in 2025, same thing what's in Iran? You are adult after 12.
I mean,
and you can marry.
And I understand, and that makes sense, Roger, and I appreciate the clarification because I'm only half listening. But I would say that, you know, there are so many religious leaders out there. There are certain industries that draw, you know, some of these dark personalities, and those include people who claim to be religious leaders, right? My own rabbi was censured by one of the rabbinical societies for having an affair with one of his congregants. And then I called him out on a minor detail for editing his own Wikipedia page. So these, you know, I know that's not what you're talking about, but I had to throw that in there because I do have some disdain for religious leaders. I don't know that all of them, in fact, most of them are nearly as honest and empathic as they would like people to believe. They love to get in front of audiences. They have huge fucking egos, and no one can call them out because religion isn't even a pseudoscience. It can't even be tested under scientific investigation. So
actually, I want to address something in the chat. This person named Last First says Aisha was around 17 to 19 years old at the time of consummation. So that's incorrect. You're wrong about that. You're welcome to come up and argue about it. But we've done these rooms over the last few days, and we've had Muslims come in and tell you they would agree with the interpretation that the Quran, actually the Hadith, explained very specifically that she was 6 when they were married, when the Prophet married her, and she was 9 when the Prophet fucked her. Adams, do you want to tell what age she was when she was asked to clean the cum off the ground?
That's really disgusting.
Listen, I justified as a different times, different customs.
I was 7 when I first masturbated.
We don't do it right now. In Iran, you married after 13. In Judaism, you can marry after 12.
No, you cannot.
2025.
You
After you
cannot.
marry
I don't know
12
where
or
this
whatever.
dude is getting this from.
Just
Put the law in Israel, the law in Israel in the chat. You have to be 18.
Not the Israel.
Don't you get it? It's law.
Not
And
Israel.
no.
Judaism.
And you can't. So where are you living? If you're living in the United States, you've got to be 18 unless you have parental consent. You can go down in some states, and only some states, to 16 with either parental consent or court consent. So if you're religious, you live in the U.S., you can't. If you live in Israel, you cannot. So what planet are you talking about?
Okay, I'm gonna find you when they married at 12, and what are you gonna say?
Yeah, find it, because it doesn't exist, because you're making it up.
Hey, Abby,
And Levi, you're wrong too. And I put it in the chat. I put every freaking state in the country in the chat. And you're wrong. You're just wrong.
And the fact that Hakima
You can't handle it.
Like, I'm literally talking to y'all.
Shima, why are you, all your talking points anti-American? Why are you going to shill for someone that is literally trolling America right now?
I don't care. Maybe I'm anti-American.
I don't want you to be.
Wait, hold on, guys. Hold on. Listen,
I can't get my point.
you will get your point across. I'm going to tell people, listen, if you disagree with Hakima, then the time to say that is after he's done speaking. This app has created a tool for you to learn when that is. When he's done speaking, just like when I'm about to be done speaking, I will place myself on mute. In the lower right-hand corner, a microphone with a line through it will reappear. That will show that I've placed myself on mute. When you see the Kima do that, then somebody can respond. Responding prior to that, then we have to say, why are you not listening to what he has to say? Because first of all, somebody has to complete their thought for you to determine whether you agree or disagree. You can't simply jump in mid-thought. Hakeem?
I would say what Pamiri said and what Abby conflated with like what Israel do. He said what Judaism do. He did not say what's legal in Israel. And when I'm reading according to the Talmud, girls can get married at 12 after the bat mitzvah, and boys get married at 13 after the bar mitzvah. That's according to Judaism and Talmudic law. So like, he's not saying Israel. He's talking about Judaism.
You don't practice it.
And if you just do the
Don't
Google,
practice
you can
that.
find so
Again,
many cases.
for the 50th
It's
time,
right there.
since I'm one and I'm in the community, I am telling you, we don't practice that. And those that live in countries like the United States, Canada, England, France, or in Israel have an age of majority. Also, Hakima, you were absolutely dead wrong. There is not a state in the United States that allows you to be married under the age of 18 without either parental consent or court-ordered consent.
Abby,
I repeat, not
say that
one
Abby,
state. I put it in the chat, and you can try to argue, even Utah, you must have parental consent, which follows the law in our nation about the age of majority.
Hold on, Kima.
That's what I said, right?
Kima, I'll give you a chance to respond. I just want to read some. I'm going to read two things. One is from the book of Purification. It says, I used to scrape the semen off the garment of the messenger of Allah, and he would go out and pray in it while there were still traces of water on it. I'll read the other one. The other one says, I used to wash the semen off the clothes of the prophet, and he used to go for prayers while water spots were still visible. That's the book of ablutions and the book of purification. So if anybody was curious about whether it was true that this was written, about the prophet, yes, this is what was written. So like.
Yeah, let me help Abby out real quick. What you're saying, Abby, the age of marriage is 18. Yes, facts. The age of consent for sex, like what you want to dodge that part. We talk about consensual sex. It's 16 in Georgia and many other states. The age of consent is 16. I'm not talking about marriage.
But you were talking about marriage before.
I clearly said the age of I said the age of consent. I literally used the words. The age of consent in America in 30 states is 16. I never said marriage. I said the age of consent is 16. And you want to complain about marriage, but a woman or a man can have sex at 16 with an 80-year-old man if they want to in 30 states in America in 2025.
You specifically said marriage, and you said 30 states allow you to marry.
I said consent. Put the replays on, Rob. If I did, I made the mistake because we were talking about fucking, about Muhammad fucking it. He said he married at 6, he fucked her at 9. That's what we were talking about. We talking about.
Do you think there's a difference between 9 and 16?
Now you want to change the argument. I'm clarifying the point. So you want to add
statutory rape in many states.
Should children be having children again?
They do it all the time.
Should they?
Yeah, if God allows them to, yeah, they should have a child.
Like, this is like.
Don't argue with God, not me.
This makes you the best argument against Islam. Like, when people defend this shit. Like, seriously.
Well, great. I would love to be the poster. I would love to be the poster child for Islam. I would hold that.
Arguments for me. Nato, you're dishonest. You should talk about all religion, not just Islam.
I do. Do you want me to talk about?
Yeah, just don't say Islam. Say all the Abrahamic religious stuff. I get crazy.
Bro, I've talked about my problems with Christianity. Like, that's where I grew up. So,
well, that is the foundation.
I've heard Necro talk about other religions.
This is the foundation of our civilization. Take it.
Bro, if you want to talk about me and problems I have with Christianity, I'm all for it. But we're talking about Islam right now.
I think Muhammad is Schrodinger's prophet. He's both a pedophile and the best of men. It's amazing.
May peace be upon him.
Police be upon your prophet.
That's actually funny. That's good.
How about this? Pamiri, do you denounce men having sexual intercourse with 9-year-old girls? Do you denounce that?
I personally wouldn't do that because different times, different social structure, completely different areas.
In 2025, do you denounce that behavior?
In 2025, I would understand if he marries her after she reaches the puberty age.
Hold on. Which could be as early as 8. So you're in support of.
In general, if she reached, I wouldn't do that. But if somebody do it, I don't know.
Wait, so you're saying, hold on, I just want to be clear. So you're saying that as soon as a girl reaches puberty and has her period, you would support, even in 2025, that an adult male could then have intercourse with that young woman?
If this is the custom, yeah. If that's look, that's not a custom and law of the land. Then no.
Well, okay. I'm glad you said that, because when I say that people say this, and that they believe this, they think that I'm exaggerating, and I'm glad that somebody's willing to say the quiet part out loud that you guys support pedophilia. It's very important that people understand that a religion that has almost 2 billion people in it in 2025 condones pedophilia. I think that's important. That's an important thing to
Yeah, people wonder why the maternal mortality rate in Afghanistan is extremely high, because young girls should not be giving birth to fucking children.
It's not that I support. I just said I understand why they did what they did, because it was different customs, different social structures. Everything was different back in the days. Today, I don't do it. Like Prophet was riding camel. Today, any Muslim, nobody will ride camel to work. Everyone drives car. So you live by the times and by the customs.
Yeah, so it wasn't.
Powerful argument in favor of pedophilia, I have to admit. That whole camel thing is changing my mind on this matter.
Okay, guys, I just want to announce something here. Matt Cool went to set up another room. Maybe somebody can tell me once that's up. Maybe Ann, if you can let me know, and then we can get a link. I have to go off and do some things. I'm going to go celebrate this holiday the best way that I know how. I'm going to go eat Mexican food. And so that's what I'm going to do for a while. But the conversation is going to continue. Matt Cool is going to open up a room. But so, Ann, if you could let me know once that room's open, we'll pin that up here. We'll continue the conversation until that room opens, though.
I just want to ask you, Mojo, since you said you're going to get Mexican food on the 4th of July, does that mean that you agree that multiculturalism is part of American identity?
Yeah, I think you can participate in whatever culture you'd like. What I don't want, though, is for the dominant culture to be something that goes against the most important of American values, which is individual freedom. So, look, if you've got customs that say that we should eat corn tortillas versus eating white bread, I think that's fine. I would even sit at the table and enjoy with you. But when you start infringing on individual rights, then that's where you're going to see the fighting side.
100%. Amen.
Roger, did they really cancel your fireworks? That's crazy.
Yeah, there was a last minute thing that said that, they got a report that said it was too dry and there was dangers and da-da-da-da-da. And so they literally canceled it at 10 a.m. this morning. So.
Yeah, I didn't know you lived in Illinois, Roger. You live in Illinois?
No.
That's kind of Illinois. They are anti-fireworks. Like, it is funny that, like, they want to be the most oppressive, but they got signed up, like, it's a $750 fine if you pop a firework. I'm like, this Independence Day. Like, y'all literally want to be authoritarian on Independence Day. That shit is fascinating.
I will say one thing that red states get right is legalization of fireworks. You know,
We have them everywhere, but the best place to buy them are at the Indians. The Paiutes sell them cheap.
Yeah, you know what's happened in our state, Abby, is you can go to the native reservations. You can get amazing fireworks. You can get the launchers with like the professional grade fireworks. You can get Roman candles. You can get bricks of firecrackers. You can get all kinds of crazy shit at really good rates. But then the fucking police are right outside the reservation, and if you do anything, if you violate a single traffic law, they'll pull you over for the traffic law. Then they'll ask you a bunch of questions, and because you came from there, they'll look in your car, and if they see anything, so if you do go by them, you have to put them in your trunk, because if they see them, they then have probable cause to search the whole car, and they'll take them.
That's similar to Illinois, because we can go. I can drive 10 minutes. I'll be in Indiana. Talk about all the shit you named, the professional shit. Shit you got to put in the ground, the launch, and all that shit. But the difference is, like, no police is bothering. They basically welcome you. Like, there's nobody in Illinois waiting for you to get there, nobody in Indiana waiting for you to leave. That's only different. But once you get home is where the problem comes. But once you pop it, then the local police come give you a fucking damn near $1,000 ticket, which is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if you live in like a rural area, they most likely will never see you. doing that shit. And I mean, in my own state, I lived in the suburban areas, and the most the police ever did was just come by and just said you can't do that, and then after that they literally wouldn't do anything. So
I set up a cake in my neighborhood, like 25 shots. Before the 25th shot got off, they pulled up on me. So they watched it, and they zeroed in on me. Before the 25th shot, it was right there. They gave me a warning. This your warning. The next one you pop off, you will get the fine. So they literally have nothing else better to do. It seems pretty pathetic though. But yeah, I guess that's the law, so I guess it makes sense.
yeah, I mean, I understand the concern mostly within the cities that it's a danger to everybody else. But meanwhile, in states like Kansas, there's not a lot of people